Welcome back to Horoscope TV. It is so good to have you with us again as we track what's happening up there in the cosmos and, really analyze what the stars are trying to tell us.
It's fantastic to be here.
Today, we're really honing in. We're getting laser focused on one very specific, very grounded slice of the zodiac. This is all about the forecast for the sign of Taurus. And we're looking at the week of February 9th all the way through to February 15th, 2026. And I have to say, looking at the charts, this isn't just your standard weekly forecast. The geometry here is pretty intense.
It really is a pleasure to be here. And you are absolutely right about that. For our Taurus listeners, when we really analyze the ephemeris for this specific period in February, we are seeing a week that is structurally divided. It's almost like two completely different astrological climates have been packed into just 7 days. There's a very, very distinct before and an after, and it all seems to pivot right around Valentine's Day.
I saw that when I was reviewing the transits.
Yeah.
The first half of the week looks incredibly soft.
Yeah.
Lots of that gentle water energy, feels very social.
Very social.
But then we hit the weekend, and it's like the chart just drops a hammer. It completely shifts. And it goes from what I can only call a gentle social hug to this deep, almost monastic spiritual dive. It's a total plot twist.
That is the perfect way to describe it. It really is a week of duality. We're kicking things off with Venus, who, is the ruler of Taurus, making some truly beautiful aspects that are all about fostering connection and community. But then, right on the heels of that, we have one of the most significant planetary ingresses of the entire year, and that is Saturn entering Aries. Sure. And that just changes the entire structural foundation for you, Taurus.
And the context here is so key. We were talking about the week of February 14th. So, the calendar is just screaming romance and roses, but the astrological data, it's suggesting something much, much more complex.
Oh, yeah.
The cosmos really seems to have a different agenda than, say, a standard date night.
The sky is definitely not following the Hallmark script this year. Not at all. While the collective energy is all focused on Valentine's Day, the real astrological headline is Saturn's ingress into Aries, the very first sign of the zodiac.
Right.
So our mission today is to help you, the Taurus listener, navigate these really high tides of social connectivity at the start of the week, and then more importantly, to really prepare you for that sudden, sharp call to solitude that arrives by the weekend.
So if I'm a Taurus and I'm looking at my calendar for the week, I'm probably feeling a little bit conflicted, right? Am I supposed to book the party or should I be booking the retreat?
The data suggests you actually do both, but the timing is, and I mean this, it's non-negotiable.
Okay.
You're going to feel this pull between the crowd and the cave, and if you try to go into that cave on Tuesday, you're going to miss out on all the gold. But if you try to stay in the crowd on Saturday, you're going to hit a wall. Hard.
All right, let's break that down. Let's start with the crowd aspect first. So for section 1 of our analysis, we're calling it the social butterfly effect. And it all kicks off with a major movement on February 10th involving your ruler, Venus.
Yes, exactly. On February 10th, Venus leaves the kind of mental, detached air sign of Aquarius.
Which can be a little cold.
A little cold, a little distant. And it enters the deep, emotional water sign of Pisces. Now, we know Venus is the planetary ruler for Taurus, so whatever Venus does, you feel it on a personal level.
It's your guide.
It is. But this isn't just a simple sign change. This is Venus entering her sign of exaltation.
Right. And for anyone who tracks the essential dignities, exaltation is like the highest performing state a planet can possibly be in. It's like Venus is the guest of honor at a massive banquet thrown just for her.
That's it exactly. In Pisces, Venus becomes wet, mutable, boundless. She's functioning at her absolute highest potential. And for a Taurus, who is usually so grounded and practical, having your ruling planet in this compassionate water sign just softens everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It takes that kind of rigid nature of Earth, and it just irrigates it with feeling.
So, practically speaking, what does this look like? I'm looking at the chart, and Venus is moving through the 11th house for Taurus. That's the sector of community, networks, friends, hopes, and dreams.
Right.
When you put an exalted Venus in the 11th house, that has to be a massive green light for socializing.
It's the biggest green light of the month, maybe even the quarter. The forecast predicts this profound sense of belonging. And this isn't just about hanging out with people.
It's deeper.
It's so much deeper. You're feeling genuinely deeply connected to the collective, to your tribe. People are going to appreciate you, but not for what you do. which is often how you, Taurus, are valued.
For being the reliable one, the one who provides.
Exactly. This time, they're going to value you for who you are. The energy is just incredibly accepting and soft.
That must be such a relief.
Yeah.
Usually that 11th house can feel a little bit political. It's about who knows who. It's networking for personal gain. But with Venus in Pisces, it sounds a lot less transactional, more emotional.
It creates what I like to call a soft network. It's not about handing out business cards to get ahead. It's about sharing your hopes, your dreams, your vulnerabilities. This is why the advice for the early part of the week is just so adamant. Do not hide away.
So lean in.
You have to lean in. If you get an invitation to a gallery opening, a friend's dinner, or even just a casual meetup on Tuesday or Wednesday, you have to go. The transits are just perfectly lined up to support this kind of social cohesion in a way we really won't see again for another year.
Now, I want to touch on the romance piece of this.
Yeah.
Because the 11th house is, technically about friendships.
Yeah.
But when you have the planet of love exalted there, the lines have to blur, don't they?
They absolutely do. The 11th house is so often where we find love through our existing structures.
Yeah.
That classic friends to lovers trope is incredibly strong with this transit.
So we're not talking about the mysterious stranger across a crowded room.
Yeah.
We're talking about the friend you've known for 2 years who suddenly, under this dreamy Pisces light, just looks different.
Precisely. Or another scenario is meeting someone at a group event, like a fundraiser or a community meeting, who shares your very specific vision of the future. The 11th house governs our hopes and dreams.
Oh.
So with Venus here, the physical attraction becomes almost secondary to a shared ideology. You're not just looking for someone who looks good on your arm. You're searching for someone who is walking the exact same path as you.
That shared vision piece feels so crucial. Taurus can sometimes get a little stuck on the physical, the senses, the touch, the tangible stuff. But this transit is asking for a spiritual or an intellectual click to happen first.
It absolutely elevates the standard. It poses the question, do we dream the same dream? If the answer is yes, that connection can happen incredibly quickly this week.
Okay, this all sounds wonderful, almost idyllic. But looking at the aspectarian for later in the week, it seems like the ride gets a little bumpy. We have to talk about the tension point. Section 2, February 15th, we have Venus square Lilith.
Yes, there it is. The square aspect. That's 90 degrees of pure friction. And this isn't just any square. We have Venus, the planet of harmony, social grace, and love, squaring Lilith.
And Lilith is a whole other story.
A whole other story. Lilith is a mathematical point, the lunar apogee, but astrologically, she is the ultimate wild card.
She's the shadow, right?
Yeah.
The untamed, rebellious, I will not serve energy that lives in all of us. So you're putting the ultimate people pleaser, which is Venus in Pisces, in a direct clash with the ultimate rebel, Lilith. And it's happening in the 11th house of friend groups. That just sounds messy.
It's a volatile, that's the word for it. Lilith represents that part of the feminine psyche that has been exiled or repressed. When she squares a planet like Venus, it often manifests as jealousy or feelings of exclusion, or maybe a sudden jarring realization that the group dynamic is actually stifling your individuality.
Wow. So that lovely, warm, belonging feeling from Tuesday could curdle into something like peer pressure by Sunday.
It's very, very likely. You might find a friend suddenly acting possessive or weirdly jealous of a new romantic interest you have. Or, on a more internal level, you might feel that in order to keep the peace, that's the Venus part, you have to suppress your true wild self, the Lilith part. And that internal tension is going to snap.
That makes perfect sense. Taurus hates rocking the boat, but Lilith loves to capsize it. So if a listener finds themselves hitting this turbulence on the 15th, what's the move? Do they dive into the drama?
No, absolutely not. The astrological advice is to recognize the projection for what it is. If a friend is acting out, it's the square talking, not them. The coaching here is simple. Stay true to your values.
Right.
Real love and real friendship should feel easy and safe, especially with Venus exalted in Pisces. If it suddenly feels pressured or overly dramatic or manipulative, that's Lilith trying to hook you into a power struggle. Do not bite.
Real love should feel easy. That's a really good mantra to just keep in your back pocket for when the texts start getting a little passive-aggressive.
Absolutely. Think of this square as a test of your personal boundaries. You can be kind, that's Venus, without being a doormat. That's the shadow side of Pisces.
Okay, let's pivot a bit to the professional side of things. We mentioned the 11th house is all about networks, which has to include professional guilds, industry contacts, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. The 11th house is often described as the wealth derived from your career. It's not the job itself, that's the 10th house, but it's the rewards and the powerful network that come from it. So for the Taurus professional, this week is an absolute goldmine for networking.
But there is a very specific transit that I want us to analyze. It's on February 12th. Mercury connects with the North Node. This looks like a real sleeper hit in the charts this week.
It is so often overlooked, but for you, Taurus, this is critical. Mercury is the messenger. It's data, communication, cognition. The North Node, or Rahu in Vedic astrology, represents this hunger for the future. It's our destiny point. When they align, we get what the ancients used to call fated speech.
A fated conversation. That
Yes.
sounds heavy. Are we talking about someone offering you a job on the spot, or is it something more subtle?
It acts more like a lightning rod. It's usually a single piece of information that just drops out of the blue. You might be at that mixer we talked about, the one you said yes to, and someone casually mentions a new technology or a new market trend.
Okay.
To everyone else in the room, it's just small talk. But to you, it feels like you've just been handed the key to your next 5 years.
So the advice for the 12th is to practice a kind of hypervigilance.
Active listening on overdrive. Pay attention to the quiet ideas, the throwaway comments. The North Node always pushes us into unfamiliar territory, so the idea you hear might initially scare you or seem completely out there. But if it sparks a visceral reaction in your gut, that is the signal.
And looking at the longer trajectory here, the sources I saw suggest this isn't about an immediate reward. It's more about planting seeds for a career peak that's still a few years out.
That's correct. You, Taurus, are currently in a major building phase of your life. The Saturn transit, which we absolutely have to get to, is going to force a lot of behind-the-scenes work. So the conversation that happens on the 12th isn't about instant gratification. It's about acquiring the blueprint for the castle you're going to build in, say, 2028.
Speaking of blueprints and heavy lifting, I think we have to get to the main event. Section 4. We're calling it the Great Shift, February 14th. Saturn enters Aries.
This is the seismic shift of the week, of the month, maybe even the year. Saturn, the planet of structure, time, karma, limitation, it changes signs roughly every 2.5 to 3 years.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. It has been in Pisces wading through those murky waters. Now, on Valentine's Day, it crosses the Aries point. It enters the sign of its fall.
Okay, let's unpack that for the listeners. Saturn in its fall. That basically means Saturn is deeply uncomfortable in Aries.
Yeah.
Right? Aries wants to go fast, be impulsive. Saturn wants to go slow and build methodically. Aries is hot fire. Saturn is cold lead.
It's a very friction-filled placement. It feels like trying to drive a sports car with the parking brake permanently on. But for you, Taurus, the real significance is where this is all happening in your chart. Saturn is moving out of your very social 11th house and plunging deep into your 12th house.
Oof. The 12th house, that's the house of the subconscious, of isolation. It's associated with hospitals, prisons, retreats, the womb and the tomb, as they say.
It is the most hidden, most private, most psychological sector of the entire chart. When the great taskmaster Saturn enters the house of isolation, which is the 12th, it's like the external lights go out. The party is officially over. The focus shifts entirely to the internal world.
Wow. That completely explains the call to solitude that we teased in the intro. So this isn't just a feeling of, oh, I'm tired. This is a cosmic mandate to withdraw.
It's a structural requirement for your growth. Saturn in the 12th house is often called the cleaning of the cosmic closet. For the next 2.5 years, Taurus, you are going to be processing the last 29 years of your life. You are closing out a massive Saturn cycle.
So on February 14th, if a Taurus listener suddenly feels this overwhelming, almost primal urge to cancel their fancy Valentine's dinner plans and just sit in a dark, quiet room, that's actually the correct response.
It is arguably the healthiest and most astrologically aligned response to this transit. That urge to withdraw is not depression, it's gestation. You are preparing for a major rebirth, but first, you have to dissolve what came before. The 12th house dissolves the ego.
That sounds really tough for Taurus, though. I mean, your whole thing is to build, to possess, to hold on to things. The idea of dissolving sounds terrifying.
It's the complete antithesis of the core Taurus nature. But resistance to this transit only creates suffering. The validation here for you is this. Trust that instinct to be alone. Your evolution right now requires silence. You cannot hear the new signal that's trying to come in if you are still surrounded by the noise of the 11th house party.
So how does this impact your work life? I mean, we just said you should be networking on the 10th, but now we're saying you should hide on the 14th. How do you balance that?
The nature of your work fundamentally changes. The networking part is done. You've gathered the contacts. Now the work moves into the back office. Your best, most productive work during this entire Saturn and Aries cycle will be done in private.
So like research, strategy.
Exactly. Research, strategy, development, planning. It's not the time for the big product launch. It's the time you spend in the R&D lab perfecting the product.
Less public glory, more private grind.
That's it in a nutshell. Public recognition might wane for a bit, but your internal mastery, your expertise will absolutely skyrocket if you do the work.
Okay, let's talk about the resources for that work. Section
Yep.
5, our financial reality check. With Saturn, the planet of restriction and reality entering the subconscious sector, does that have a direct hit on the wallet?
It hits the psychology of the wallet, which is almost more important. The 12th house is also the house of hidden enemies and self-undoing. Financially, this transit often points to the debts we've ignored, or the unconscious spending habits that are slowly bleeding us dry without us even realizing it.
And we have that very social Venus in the 11th house early in the week, which is tempting you to spend on, social validation.
Right. It's that urge to say, I'll buy this round, or I'll get my friend the expensive gift to show I care. The stars are saying, enjoy the moment, absolutely, but do not try to buy affection. The Saturn ingress is a harsh reality check. It demands nothing less than a forensic audit of your finances.
A forensic audit. Wow, that sounds serious.
It means looking at the things you don't want to look at, that subscription you forgot you had that's been charging you for a year, the tax issue you've been avoiding, all the small leaks in the boat. Saturn in Aries in the 12th wants you to plug every single hole.
There's a specific note here in my chart about February 15th, a feeling of being temporarily restricted. What's that about?
That's the initial shock of the ingress. It's Saturn announcing its presence. You might look at your bank account and just feel this wave of panic, this scarcity mindset. The advice is critical here. Do not panic. Panic is a 12th house ghost. It's not real. The reality is that you just need to tighten your belt slightly and clear out the financial debris. It's about creating efficiency, not about impending poverty.
Okay, let's move to the physical vessel, section 6. Health and the subconscious. If Saturn is putting all this pressure on the 12th house, I have to assume that sleep becomes a major battleground.
Or a major playground, depending on how you look at it. The 12th house governs our sleep and our dreams. With Saturn here, the barrier between the conscious and subconscious mind thins out dramatically. You might find yourself having incredibly vivid structural dreams.
What do you mean by structural dreams?
Dreams that feel like they are actively solving problems from your waking life or forcing you to rehash old memories from childhood that need to be processed.
It's psychological processing, but in your sleep.
Exactly. Your brain is essentially defragging its hard drive every night, and that process consumes a massive amount of psychic energy. That's why your physical energy might feel unusually low. You aren't lazy, you are doing heavy, heavy lifting on the astral plane.
So that advice we often hear, that rest is as important as activity, isn't just a wellness slogan for Taurus this week. It's an energetic fact.
It's a prescription. If you fight the need for sleep this week, you will crash. Your body needs that downtime to integrate the massive Saturn shift. Things like meditation, yin yoga, anything that bridges the body and the mind is absolutely essential right now.
The notes also mention the last quarter moon on February 9th as a good trigger for this kind of work.
Yes, the last quarter moon is always the release point of the lunar cycle. It's perfect for shedding stored physical tension. A deep tissue massage or a long restorative yoga session on the 9th really helps prepare the body and sets you up perfectly for the Saturn ingress on the 14th.
All right, I think it's time we open up the Cosmic Toolkit. We always like to give our listeners some specific frequencies and tools to work with. Section 7 gives us the color of the week.
The color is forest green. And to be very specific, we're looking at the hex code, hashtag 228B22.
That is a very specific, deep, rich green. Why this frequency for Taurus this week?
Well, think about the elemental balance of the week. We have Venus in water, in Pisces, which brings all this emotion. Then we have Saturn moving into fire, in Aries, bringing heat and dryness and action.
Right.
You, Taurus, are an earth sign. Forest green is the ultimate earth frequency. It is grounding. It acts as a powerful stabilizer between the boiling water on one side and the raging fire on the other.
It anchors the nervous system.
It anchors everything. If you were to wear red, the color of Aries, you might just burn out. If you wear too much blue, for Pisces, you might drown in all the emotion. Green keeps you centered.
I love that. And what about the lucky numbers? I'm seeing some heavy hitters in this lineup.
We have 2, 6, 11, 24, 33, and 41.
Okay, so 11 and 33, the master numbers. That always stands out.
Yeah. Whenever we see master numbers pop up in a Taurus forecast, especially when there's this much 12th house activity, it points to a spiritual initiation. These aren't just for, playing the lottery. They are signals.
So if you see 11 when one on the clock.
Or if you keep encountering the number 33 somewhere, pay very close attention to what you were thinking at that exact moment. It's like a confirmational nod from the universe.
Let's get to the people. Section 8, Relationship Compatibility Analysis. In a week, this polarized who is the lifeboat and who is the anchor that's going to drag you down.
The lifeboat, without a single doubt, is Capricorn.
Fellow Earth sign. That makes sense on the surface.
It's not just the Earth element, though that helps. It's their planetary ruler. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn.
Ah.
A Capricorn is born knowing how to handle Saturn's pressure. It's their native language. So while you, Taurus, might be freaking out about this new 12th house isolation, a Capricorn is sitting there calmly saying, I know this terrain. Here is the map.
So they can act as mentors this week.
They are the ultimate stabilizing force. And get this, the moon enters Capricorn on February 12th. That's the exact same day as that fated Mercury North Node conversation. A Capricorn might actually be the one who delivers that fated message to you.
Wow, okay. And the one to avoid, or at least the one to handle with extreme care.
That would be Aquarius.
Your neighbor in the zodiac. What's the source of the friction there?
Right now, specifically around the 15th, Aquarius is in a state we call malefic besieged in the charts. It's a technical term, but it just means the sign is kind of flanked on either side by difficult planetary bodies, in this case Mars and Saturn interactions. The energy in Aquarius is pressurized, it's erratic, and it's incredibly tense.
And Taurus, who just wants peace and quiet and stability, is probably not going to react well to that kind of erratic electricity.
Not at all. You want a plan. Aquarius, under siege, is chaotic and rebellious just for the sake of it. A clash is almost guaranteed if you try to force them to be predictable or conform. The friction is usually about values or money.
So if your partner, or maybe your boss, is an Aquarius, and they're acting out this week?
Step back. Give them a wide berth. Do not try to fix them or their problems this week. They are fighting their own cosmic battles. If you engage, you will get pulled directly into their storm.
Give them space. Really seems to be the overarching theme of the week. Giving space to others, and then by the end of it, giving space to yourself.
That is the perfect synthesis of the entire forecast.
It really is a journey, isn't it? From the outer world to the inner world. You start the week with this warm, communal hug of Venus and Pisces, connecting with your tribe, and you end it with the solemn, necessary solitude of Saturn in Aries.
It is a beautiful progression, even if it's an intense one. It asks you, Taurus, to fill your cup with love and connection first, so that you have the sustenance you need for the time you're about to spend alone.
That is a very poetic way to put it. And before we let our listeners go, we always like to leave them with a provocative thought, something to chew on as they navigate the week.
Well, since we are entering this massive 2.5-year 12th house Saturn cycle, the question really has to be about release. We discussed how the North Node is pointing you toward your future. So, Taurus, what is the one thing, it could be a habit, a person, a belief, an object in your home that you are holding on to only because it has always been there?
Not because you love it or even need it, but just because it's familiar.
Exactly. The 12th house is the house of endings. Saturn is the cosmic reaper. You cannot walk through the door of your future in 2026 carrying all the heavy luggage from 2015. This week, the stars are handing you the scissors. The real question is, what are you going to cut?
Oof. That is a heavy but very necessary question. Something to really spend some time with in the cave this weekend and think about.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for this incredible analysis. The depth of that Saturn shift is really something to prepare for.
It's always a privilege to explore the charts with you.
And a huge thank you to you, our listener, for tuning into Horoscope TV.
Yeah.
We know this is a big week, a pivotal week, and we truly hope this map helps you navigate the terrain. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit that subscribe button so you get notified immediately when the next episode drops. You won't want to miss how this Saturn cycle develops.
And until then, trust the timing of your life.
Goodbye, everyone.